This is Out Loud and Laughing.
What is up, chosen fam? Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud and Laughing. Today, we are joined by a man who decided that 2,650 miles of hiking wasn't enough of a challenge. He had to do it during the deepest snowpack year in recorded history. He's a writer, a creator, and a professional soul searcher who traded city life for the Pacific Crest Trail to face down some serious internal weather. He is the author of the Snowbound series, a chronicler of the messy, beautiful, and cold as hell reality of finding yourself in the wild. Please welcome to the pod the adventurous and incredibly raw Riley Riffle. Welcome, Riley.
Love that intro. I wanted to record that myself just so I could start saying that's my new thing when I'm introducing myself to people. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We'll send you a tape and you can play it before you walk into a room. Riley, we are so pumped that you're here. As you know, we've been deep diving into your journey. Most people see a record snow year and they usually think, I'll stay inside and watch Netflix. You saw it and thought, I'm going to walk north through all of it. So in Snowbound, your book, the trail doesn't read like an escape. It feels like the first place you could no longer sort of outrun yourself, right? So my question is, what was the real point of no return for you, right? Was it physically stepping onto that PCT, or was it the moment you realized that the trail was going to strip away every version of you that you built around image and control?
It happened a couple times. So the moment I touched the monument and put my hand right through the US and Mexico border, I knew that there was kind of no returning. But funny story. So I stayed at the Trail Angel's place. So by the way, a Trail Angel, that's just someone who's really nice, who helps host a hiker stay at their place. So
I love
there was
that.
10 of us
Yeah.
staying from around the world. And I got sick before I started the trail. So I was so sick putting my hand on that monument, but I knew that I couldn't actually just take my hand off and take a flight back to Canada. I knew that I had to start walking, and I was going to walk on a bridge, and I was going to keep walking forward because it was like 5 years of work that I put into planning the trail, making sure I was financially ready, getting a new job, selling that house, getting my partner ready at the time, ready for me to leave for half a year. So that was kind of the work that I put in, and I knew that there was a point where I just couldn't walk back to that. I had to put myself in that piece of beauty and change that goal.
That's beautiful. I had a quick question because I want our listeners to kind of hear, like, can you give a little background on what the Snowbound series is?
Yeah. So it's a 2-volume series, and keep in mind that's a lot of writing and a lot of pages. I wrote it in a journal every single night on the trail. So
Nice.
it's more or less me talking about the record snow year that I faced and the beauty of the PCT in itself, and also the queer identity as a gay man and sort of the things I walked towards and faced on the trail, where I talk about, sexual identity, talk about sexual abuse I faced when I was a lot younger, and just overcoming a lot of those objections and truly putting yourself in a situation where you can embrace that beauty and walk home to your family in Canada. I think that was probably the best thing at the end.
I also want to deep dive a little bit because you write so powerfully about the performance of being okay. Whether that's on social media, in your body, or in relationships. And for a community like ours, we're curating our lives is almost second nature. What did the 2,600 miles of silence teach you about the difference between being admired and actually being known?
So I work in sales. So I need to be a man of many faces when I'm going to talk to people. I think that's just kind of how we grow up being gay, right? Like that's one of the things that you do is you realize that you need to be that perfect, that polished person with that great personality. You learn to kind of be unbothered and that's okay, right? The trail taught me that you can't hide that in any sort of circumstance. It's just too tough, right? It brings out the raw, the scared feeling who you truly are. So that's kind of where I came to when I was thinking about that piece there.
Uh, if it's okay, we all sort of have these stories around individual stories around growing up queer. Would you mind sort of sharing a little bit about your upbringing and what brought you to present day?
Yeah. So like growing up, I was a pretty masculine person, right? I did face bullying when I was in high school. I think it was in grade 10 or 11, I started realizing, and as I was going through puberty, all the things that
Of course. Yep.
you realize you're not fitting in within those certain crowds sometimes, and that you're saying, "Okay, maybe I might like that guy," or, maybe I'm not as attracted to girls as everyone else is, or I might not fit in. And the bullying started very, just with a comment here and there, or just a joke I didn't necessarily get. It would be even watching an episode of The Simpsons and them making a gay joke, saying, "Why does that not feel right?" Right? And then it would go into certain instances in high school right there when everyone kinda knew I was gay. I didn't necessarily come out and say it, so I wasn't out in high school. But there was an instance, I mean, this is gonna get a little heavy, so we can keep it light afterwards, but, like, I was drinking with some of my friends, and I obviously drank too much. That was on me, and I passed out, right? I had my first blackout moment as a person, right? But
Mhm.
I remember, and this is I wrote about this in the book when I got my trail name, and they pissed on me and they called me an effing faggot, right? And
Yeah.
that with me for years. It took me years and years of therapy to really separate that and know that I could walk past it, right? And there was a moment on the PCT after I got my trail name Hammer where I said, I don't need to let this weigh me down anymore. Like, that's high school, that's in the past, that doesn't define who I am today. I'm much stronger than that. And let them think whatever they want to think.
I mean, that's interesting. So, and that was in Canada, wasn't it?
In Canada, right? But central Canada. So things are a
Mm.
little bit more, a
No, I
little
mean,
bit
it's
more
interesting,
conservative than the
right?
prairies.
Well, I
Yeah,
asked because, obviously when we think about America versus Canada, like we want to believe that, it's all roses and beauty in Canada, but it sounds like even with our community, like you face hardships there just as much as we face it here, so that's interesting.
absolutely. Yeah.
It makes me actually wanna double tap a little bit. I wanna talk about the rugged masculine myth. You're not only an openly queer man, doing something that often gets romanticized as sort of stoic or alpha. Did while you were out on the trail, did the trail make you feel more aligned with that tough guy image? Maybe you were trying to chase it, maybe you were trying to let go of it, or did it completely dismantle that whole idea, right? That strength has to look stoic or masculine for that matter in order for it to even exist or be real.
That's a great question. A lot of people romanticize just even hiking the PCT, saying that it's gonna, solve all your problems in life, or just being out and doing a through hike, being gone for 6 months, walking 2,650 miles, right? A lot of people just romanticize that to say that's who I can be, or that's what I saw Reese Witherspoon do in the movie Wild. And because she did it, she made it look cool. I can do it too. None of that matters when you're out there. It doesn't matter with your orientation and how things are. There, just to be said, there wasn't a lot of queer people that I met on the trail. I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but I do get that kind of, that lipstick put on me as a rugged, masculine, stoic person, and even in my day to day life right now. It's kind of funny because I moved to Toronto last May, so just about 1 year, and it kind of reminds me of like Harry Potter when they're putting everyone in their classes, right? Like right here. And because one person did say to me that said, "Riley, like you fit into that masculine gay category." And I said, "Why? Like, what makes me fit into that category? Just because I like to go hiking, right?" So it's tough. Like out there, it doesn't matter as much as you'd think with that masculinity, that stoicism, that indifference to saying what it is. The fear really brings out a lot of that, right? So you could be as, you know, not you cannot be as scared as you wanna be, but when you're faced with these tough things, like when I faced a mountain lion or walking in that insane snowy air, I was scared every day. In fact, I cried. Like, there were
Mhm.
moments in Washington when I faced hypothermia, and I remember being at the top of the mountain near a forest fire closure, being inside my tent, feeling like a six-year-old kid crying, right? Because that's where I was in that time, and I shouldn't be ashamed of that because I mean, fear is normal. Like, we're okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. And before I kind of move on to my next topic that I want to touch upon, you mentioned how you were put in this box and how people just assume the type of gay that you are. I hate that, right? Because I
Me
feel
too.
like,
Same.
and it's so funny when John and I talk, like we don't really feel like we check a box. Let's talk a little bit about that because I do want to unpack that a little bit. How do you see yourself as a gay man then?
It's a great question. I mean, I see myself as someone who's grounded, who likes to have fun and be authentically them and be vulnerable and be
Beautiful.
okay with that, right? I'd say that is as simple as I can make it, and there's no face I need to put up or stand behind every single day, and that I'm dynamic and I change, right? I like to be someone who's gonna be understanding when someone has a tough situation and just have fun. A lot of people refer to me, though, as the golden retriever. That's bad, right? I think I adopted it 2 years ago, so it was probably right after the PCT when I realized that I should be very grateful for being able to have a hot cup of coffee every morning and being able to use plumbing. 2 big things I learned on the trail, and I think I adopted that nickname shortly after because I don't know if you've seen the Lego movie when he's singing the song "Everything Is Awesome." That's pretty much me in the morning, right?
I I love it. It's interesting to think about how we perceive ourselves versus like how the world looks at us. Um where do you think though, like in your most vulnerable moments, where do you think that grit comes from? I like this question because we've asked so many men and women this question. And for each of them, it's so different. And I'm just curious to know, where does that come from for you?
I love this question. You'll see on my hand, well, I think I got a PCT badge tattoo. So I got this
Nice.
before I did the trail. It was actually right after my boss at work approved my sabbatical. And I said, I'm putting this on my arm and it's going to be the promise I'm making to myself that I'm not going to give up, that I'm going to need the grit to carry forward on the trail. And I realized like when I'm having a bad day, I'll look down at it and saying, there's been worse days. It did come through a lot of other parts. I will say that my mother and father are amazing people. My mom raised me to be a delusionally positive person. I remember waking up and her saying, "You're gonna have a great day. You're so successful, and you're doing this." So I think it's me working towards and growing up to be the person that my parents raised me to be, and not letting them down as well. I think that led a little bit of that grit, and it's also just the feeling of overcoming a challenge, right? Nothing feels better than climbing the top of the mountain and having that challenge, and then the view that you're rewarded with at the end is good, right? And I'll always see this on Instagram, right? I make social media my own feed that they can watch. You can kind of curate your own algorithm to see what you want to see. And even this morning, it was one saying, like, when you get to the top of that mountain, now you're going to get to your next mountain, right? So it's always just challenging yourself every day to have that improvement. I think that's kind of where I see the grit. It's saying, you know what? It could be tough right now, but think of, Riley when he's 80 years old. He's going to want to look back and say, like, you did some cool stuff.
Just hearing that is so validating, I think, for myself and so many of our chosen family members who are with us. I just want to close it off before Brian takes off to the next topic to say that recently I was having a conversation with a friend about the word growth and how it's one of these things that can be so uncomfortable while you're experiencing it, but in retrospect, is probably one of the greatest feelings on the planet.
Yeah. Big heart there. Totally agree.
Yeah. I also want to talk a little bit because well, let's talk about the body, right, Riley? Because you have a great one, but let's
Yeah.
talk about it because you mentioned building what you thought was the perfect body, right? And still not finding peace. And then kind of watching that body become bruised and unrecognizable on the trail. What did it feel like to realize the body you once tried to perfect for others was actually the body that was strong enough to carry you home?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I will put my hand up as high as I can and say I am someone who suffers from body dysmorphia.
Mhm.
And it's something that hit me, and I didn't even realize it till I was on the trail, right?
Mm,
So leading up to it, the training, I think I got really into fitness around 2017 and 18 when I realized that I wasn't leading a good, healthy lifestyle and I wanted to get into it. And you'd start to chase what you see on Instagram. I mean, we still see it today with those beautiful men, great six packs, right? You lead up and you want to have that, right? And you don't realize that that's something that you've actually gained and it's in front of you staring at yourself in the mirror every single day. There was a moment on the trail and it was in the high Sierra. So it was in the snowpack and, it was a 7-day food carry, right? So 7 days without showering, without doing anything else. And the
Hot.
amount of,
sexy.
I know, the amount of calories I burnt every day. I was looking at my Garmin watch was between 5 and 6,000 calories. So
Stop. Wow.
wild. I lost 10 pounds within 1 week, right? So
It's
I
kind of
remember
scary when you're out in the wild.
insane. I
Yeah.
remember staring at myself at the place we were staying with all the friends, and I could see the veins going down my body, and just right away it erased, saying, this isn't something that I've actually chiseled towards being that image or something that everyone wants to be. this body has actually carried me in a very strong way, right? My body's resilient. It's not it's not something to be objectified. It's something to be proud of. And when I had those moments of adversity on the trail, I said, I would just say out loud to myself, right? Because keep in mind, you're not sometimes talking to people. I'd say, I'm so proud of you, Riley. Right. And I was really saying that to my body. So that you've finally taken me from this one image to the next. Right.
You when you talk about the body, I think I love that you just as a gay man, like, yes, a body having a perfect body and looking at a perfect body is always so fun, but the way you position it, I mean, it became almost your toolkit to kind of be successful, right? And so you got away from that vanity piece and you kind of moved into, "This is what's gonna help me succeed." And so, was there a mental shift there?
100%. I think it was probably between the end of volume 1 and volume 2 after I got it's so funny how those were it worked out that way, but it took me over 100 days to have that mental shift and appreciate what it was. I mean, I'd see my body changing day in and day out at the beginning of the hike, and I was getting upset, and there were times when I get to town, and I'd be so tired, and I was thinking, "Why can't I go to the gym right now?" Because 'Cause I'm so tired and I wanna sit on the bed and eat chips all day, right?
Yeah.
I wanna go eat McDonald's because my body's just so, like, calorie deprived. And at one point, I had to realize that I have to let go of that, and I need to start thanking my body for being what it is to carry me to the next level and not putting it in that category, right? Which is okay. And trust me, after being done the trail, I didn't just have this ultimate epiphany saying that's what it is. Walking the trail and then writing the book were 2 different experiences, right? I gotta say, I got to hike the PCT twice. Through this day, right, I'll still have issues with that, and I still talk to my therapist about body dysmorphia because that's just so prevalent in the gay community, right? I'll see it all the time. When I come to Toronto, I was at an outdoor music festival last summer, and I was looking at all the beautiful men and, hitting my friend's shoulder saying, "Look at that guy. Oh my god, look at that guy." And I just saw how surgical people were about the body comment saying, "He's too big." So just the selection you get out here when it's categorized and basically how it's normalized in the gay community, that's something we face every day.
What I really like also is, you kind of beat this drum outside of just your book, your social media, Instagram specifically. Uh, one of your posts was shows this idealistic self, right? Like the self that we all just see and then we assume some sort of story about. You've done this thing where you said, gorgeous picture of self with like, this is what people see. And then next to it, you write, he just moved to the city and he has no friends. Next slide. It's like this perceived versus not. And so,
Yeah.
as it pertains to physique, I think what I really enjoy about your story is that you've gone beyond the ego part of image for image sake. And you've now talked about how your body has served you on these incredible adventures, both on and off the trail. Can you just talk a little bit about what it means to you to have a healthy, strong body?
Yeah. So first off, great research. I love that post. That was right around New Year's when everyone's starting to do their, 2025 in recap. And I started seeing these beautiful pictures for the last 12 months. And it really made me think like how you see yourself is one of the most important things day in and day out. And I tied that back to a lot of the thoughts I had on the trail. Truly realized like every day when I wake up, I want to be able to say, hey, this is myself, this is my body, this is what's important to me. So for me to, have a good lifestyle, I want to make sure that I'm active, right? I want to go to bed at 9 or 9:30 at night so I can wake up the next day. I don't necessarily want to stay out till 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning on the weekends, drinking or being in that party culture scene because I don't want to wake up the next day and not feel good. For me, I can have a very tough or awful day at work and totally reset it by a good night's sleep and going to the gym in the morning, right? And that's just my vibe. So those are things that have kind of aligned to what I've, come to be at 35 years old, right? It's not necessarily staying up late. It's having that balanced, healthy lifestyle and balance it with things that fill up your cup. It doesn't necessarily need to be going to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. Like I got a personal trainer who educates me more and more about that balance you can have between going to the gym, but it's also important to take days off.
You surmise this really well in the book. So going back to the book, you have this phrase that basically stopped us in our tracks. You say, putting yourself in the face of beauty. Why did beauty matter so much in a healing journey that was also full of so much of can often be associated with the ugly, like fear and grief and all those other emotions?
Yeah. So I love that you read the book that part of this notes.
We do our research here, Riley.
Yes,
Yeah,
we'd like to make sure that we give you all of the credit you deserve. That's for sure.
I love it. It was a couple times, but one moment that stands out to me the most was Crater Lake. It was leading up to that moment and really truly seeing that face of beauty. So days leading up to that, I bought a really awful pair of shoes in Ashland, Oregon, and I walked for one solid week, pretty much crying every day because my Achilles hurt so much. They just did not fit me properly. But it was in that moment that I realized I was in the right place and I was doing everything I was on that path. And I was truly settled with who I was. I remember looking out at the beautiful blue caldera, like that jewel, and
Hmm.
the raw beauty of that. Even coming down to when I climbed Kilimanjaro a couple months ago, I timed it so it was a full moon and I could summit Kilimanjaro at the top, right? So I remember getting to the top of the summit at Huro Peak and looking over to the right and seeing a moon, and then looking over to the left in the direct reflection of that and seeing the sun come out of the horizon in a million different colors of orange and pink and see the curvature of the earth. And I just started crying, right? I'm saying everything I've done to get uncomfortable has put me in this view. And I'm just so grateful that I'm here right now.
That first of all, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, if before we move on to our fun little game, I wanted to ask one more thing that I was interested in. Like, if you could give one trailism to the version of you or any of our listeners who kind of feel like they've been named or been labeled by someone else before they even had the chance to name themselves, what would it be?
Trailism. What do you mean by that?
Uh, eh,
Just
I
like
guess.
something from the trail that like is, something that you tell each other on the trail that keeps each other going. Like what's something that we could bring to
Yeah,
our
like that
day-to-day life?
boost.
Yeah.
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 I think the best thing is that the next town's gonna be there, right? You're always gonna
Ooh.
have that town you can go and resupply. Also just have fun. Like I think the best thing is to wake up and have fun. And if you're facing any adversity, to know that moment's not gonna be forever. But yeah, open your eyes, have fun, and remember that you're not gonna see this view all the time.
I love that. Open your eyes and the town's right next town's right there. That's so good. That's so good.
It's so good. The next town's right there. I'm thinking to myself, like, just go find your village, go find your community. They will save you. Riley,
Your chosen fam.
your chosen fam, as we like to call them here. Riley, we really truly loved the deep talk, but we
Thank
would
you.
not be out loud and laughing. Thank you. We would not be out loud and laughing if we didn't put you in the hot seat for a minute. So we have a tradition here to strip away the hiking gear for a second, and we're gonna get to the real of you in our game that we call This or That. We're gonna call this or That, the Snowbound edition. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
It's time for another round of This or That, the unhinged get to know you game. All right, I'm kicking it off today. So, are we going the Pacific Crest Trail or New York City Energy? What do you prefer?
You're right. I have gone to New York City a couple times. Love that city, but I'll always be ready to go hiking. So for sure, PCT.
Always the trail. That was your
Always.
layup. Okay, now they get harder. Do you prefer do you prefer scruff or smooth?
Ooh, scruff for sure.
Yeah, a little hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't waver on that one. Um, are you meeting somebody on Hinge or out in the wild?
A little bit of both. All right. So obviously, right now, Toronto's a big metropolis, so I can't go meet someone out in the wild out here. So I have started to talk to people online. So that's kind of been where I've been sourcing my boys so far.
Nice. Are you someone that likes to hit the gym at midnight, or would you rather go on a hike early in the morning?
Super early in the morning, as early as possible.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I'd rather be up early.
It's tough because at night you have plans, you want to do things with friends. You have to limit it sometimes to say, hey, I got to go bed at 9. Trust me, I'm not insane. You got to draw that line in the sand somewhere, but you never have an excuse in the morning besides the own
Yeah.
voice in your head telling you to put your alarm on snooze for another hour.
Well
That's
said.
good. I like that. Are you going on a short solo hike or are you taking that epic adventure with a bunch of your best hiking buds?
Love a
I
group.
would always, I would always love to go on the longest hike possible, but having a big boy job is tough. I will go and take a big vacation every year for 2 or 3 weeks. That being said, it's always a lot easier to get together a small set of people and do a little hike over the weekend because more people have that availability.
For
When I
sure.
was going to Africa, no one wanted to join me. I said, "Hey, do you want to go away for 3 weeks to do this?" They're like, "Trust me, Riley, we're not wasting your vacation on that." Going to Madrid Pride.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so good.
amazing. Okay, we're not hiking. We are playing baseball. Are we pitching in the game or are we catching in the game?
for sure pitching.
Yeah.
Well, I do like to catch once in a while. So yeah,
Sure. Okay, so
mix
you
it
like to
Yeah.
play
up.
all the different
Yeah,
positions. Gotcha.
absolutely. Yeah.
You got to stay versatile out on the field. When you're coming back from, okay, actually, I'm going to set it up this way because you set it up earlier. After 7 days of not having one, would you prefer to be in a shower or a bath?
Showering's yeah, for sure showering. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Not a bath guy.
I can be. Trust me, there's a time and place for that, but a shower, I just feel so much more energized afterwards.
And after 7 days
Something
of not.
Yeah. Especially for 7 days. I would not want a bath in my own filth.
Yeah, that water gets dirty pretty quickly,
I
I'm
would
sure.
stick my feet in the hot tub, and I'm sure I would get a lot of dirty eyes at the motels.
That's great.
Do you prefer in the age of heated rivalry, do you prefer chest or butt?
Ooh, chest all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that. Nip
Yeah.
guy. Are you are you camping under the stars or are you staying in a luxurious 5-star hotel?
Oh, for sure, under the stars anytime I can. The little asterisk there, sometimes I'll always wake up and it's, I'm not sleeping with a tent over my head. Sometimes I'll have to get a little bit wet from the rain, but it's always worth the risk.
I always say nature is the best designer. So you can have the best designed 5-star hotel in the world. It won't beat what is already out there. That's for sure.
But it's always good to go check out a 5-star hotel. Don't worry. Like every time I have those moments of sleeping in nature, I will appreciate a 5-star hotel way more than I ever would before.
Of
I
course.
agree. Okay, last one. Do you prefer being a trailblazer or forever love?
Ooh, I like being a trailblazer. I think that's my path right now. Yeah.
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 You certainly have trailed your own and you are blazing. So Riley, we're going to continue watching your journey. So for our chosen family, we want to know where we can check out all of your adventures. So we want to encourage everyone to go grab Snowbound Volume 1 and 2. It is the raw and rugged reality check we all need. Riley, where are we following you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Riley Riffle. And just so you know, there are links inside of there to get my book on Amazon. $8 from every book sold goes back to the Pacific Crest Trail Association. I would like to say it all goes
Amazing.
back, but they maybe do a deep dive and say, based on what Amazon gets for their proceeds, the other $8 going back to them. So all proceeds go back to the PCTA.
No, beautiful. So glad you're doing that. And thank you for listening, chosen fam. Stay loud, stay laughing, and keep blazing your own trails. We'll all chat soon. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
This was Out Loud and Laughing.
We're available everywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, iHeart, or wherever.